Hello, dear students. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whatever time you're watching this video. Welcome to DAV Mall Public School. In today's subject of science, we will discuss the chapter of light, and this is the video 1 for this chapter. So let's proceed. So let's recall what we have studied up till now in your previous standard. In previous standard, you have studied about light. So what exactly do you mean by light? If anyone asks you what do you mean by light, your answer would be it is the form of energy which produces sensation in our eyes. It is one type of the energy which produces sensation in our eyes. Your answer would be this. You can add on by simply saying light possesses particle as well as wave nature. Though you won't understand this statement, but start saying this statement also whenever if someone asks you what is the definition of light, you will say it is the form of energy from which we can see. It produces particle as well as wave nature. Now, properties of light. Again, this thing you have studied in your previous standard. Properties of light, it says that it travels in a straight line. Yes, again, this you have studied in 6th standard, wherein you have demonstrated certain practicals to exhibit this phenomena. It does not require material medium to travel. Yes, light can even travel in vacuum. Vacuum means an empty space. So in a vacuum also light can propagate. It does not require any medium. Medium means it does not require any air, any solid, any liquid sort of material. It can travel anywhere in vacuum also. In void space also, light can travel anywhere. It exhibits certain phenomena like reflection, refraction, dispersion. Reflection, again you might have studied a little bit about it. What is reflection? Refraction, in 8th standard you will study about this refraction concept. Dispersion also you will study in 8th standard. In this video we will see something about reflection and we will study little in depth about reflection. So before proceeding with reflection, first let us see how one can see the nature. So here I wrote how we see. So we see with the help of this 4 component, that is light, object, eye and a brain. Light is a source from which one can see. Light falls on an object. From object it travels into our eyes, and from eyes we can perceive through brain. In this way we can see light. If any of the 4 parameters is not there, we won't be able to see. So these 4 parameters are necessary component, you can say, to observe anything. So coming back to the first phenomena of reflection. So what exactly is reflection? Reflection means when a light ray is falling on the surface of object, it returns back in the same medium from the surface. So this is reflection. You might have observed yourself in your mirrors, wherein you will observe your face, how an individual looks. This is the concept of reflection. The same thing is happening in this picture also. You are able to see because of reflection. How come? So let's see this. Here a source of light is there, your object is there, and a person is able to see. This is a source of light. From the source of light is traveling through the medium air. It strikes the object, and from the object this person is able to see in this particular manner. Here you can correlate this with the 4 things written over here. So this is the light one, this is the object, this is the eye, and from eye he can perceive through brain. Then only this object is able to see, one can see this object, one can see the nature. So this phenomenon is called reflection of light. Due to reflection of light we can see all the nature. Yes. Many things, many instructors might have asked with which phenomena you have seen nature, your answer would be through reflection. One is able to see the nature. So let's proceed with the next slide. So before studying the concept of reflection, we have to study something about mirrors, plane mirrors. What exactly are they? So what do you mean by mirror? When a glass plate is polished on one side with reflecting material such as silver or nickel, then it becomes a mirror. This is a mirror. When a glass plate, you can say that when a glass plate is polished on one side with materials like silver or nickel, then it becomes a mirror. Mirrors are of two types, plane mirror and spherical mirrors. So spherical mirror you will study in 10th standard and all. For a time being, we will focus on plane mirror. So what is plane mirror? It is a flat surface. Whenever a flat surface is there, which when polished on one side with a reflective material such as silver or nickel, it becomes a plane mirror. So let's see certain phenomena of reflection of light. This as per the diagram perspective, let us see certain phenomena which is related to plane mirror. This thing is known as plane mirror. Always remember, when a line is there and this sort of line is indicated over there, it's considered as a plane mirror. From a luminescent source of light, when a source of light is coming from this angle, it strikes the mirror. This blue portion is a mirror. It gets reflected. This is the phenomena of reflection. This point where incident ray, reflected ray and normal meet is known as point of incidence. What is a normal, what is incident, and what is reflected ray, we will see in next slide. So angle, one more terminology which is related over here, that is when the angle created between normal and incident ray is known as angle of incidence. This angle is angle of incidence, and whereas this angle is angle of reflection. So this is written over here. What is terminology associated with reflection of light? First one, incident ray of light which falls on any surface is called the incident ray of light. This light is falling on this surface, so this is known as incident ray. Reflected ray of light which gets reflected from any surface is called reflected ray. So when a ray of light gets hit by the plane surface, this is a mirror. So this, after reflection, it travels in this direction. So this is the reflected ray. Normal, it is an imaginary line. There is no as such phenomena which is related to normal. It is an imaginary. Whenever incident ray and reflected line intersect at point of incidence, we draw a normal. It is an imaginary line perpendicular to the reflecting surface. This is the imaginary line and this is perpendicular, this is a surface. So this is making perpendicular an angle of 90 degree over here. So this normal is always perpendicular to the surface. This is the surface, this is normal. It is making an angle of 90 degree. So this normal is always perpendicular to the direction of reflecting surface. Angle of incidence, it is the angle created between normal and incident ray. So this is the angle of incidence. Always remember, angle of incidence is always created between normal and incident ray, and angle of reflection is always created between normal and reflected ray. Many students make wrong diagram in which they make this angle as angle of incidence. That is always a wrong one. Here also many students commit this errors in where they make this angle as reflected angle. Again, that is wrong. So angle of incidence is the angle between incident ray and normal, this one, whereas angle of reflection is this one. So what is plane of incidence? plane defined by incident ray and normal at the point of incidence is the plane of incidence. This is the plane of incidence. The plane defined by incident ray and normal. This complete plane wherein you have two axes, this is x-axis and this is y-axis. So this plane is known as incidence plane, plane of incidence or incident plane. In the same way, plane of reflection, a plane defined by reflected ray and the normal at the point of incidence, is called plane of reflection. This is this plane, this complete plane. Again you have a normal and a reflected ray. So this complete plane is plane of reflection. This is two axes, x-axis and y-axis. So this complete plane is plane of reflection and this is plane of incidence. Now after reflection laws are associated with two things. Two laws are associated with reflection. First one, the incident ray, the reflected ray and the normal at the point of incidence all lie in same plane. So this is incident ray, reflected ray and normal all lie in one complete plane, this complete plane. So this complete plane is the first law of laws of reflection. The second one, the angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. Always remember, this angle and this angle are always equal. What do I mean with this statement? If this angle, that is angle created between angle of incidence and normal is 30 degree, so angle created between normal and reflected ray will also be 30 degree. This is the second law of reflection. If suppose it is 60 degree, angle of incidence is 60 degree, then angle of reflection would also be 60 degree. This is laws of reflection. Now, reflection of light can be classified into two categories: specular reflection and diffuse reflection. So, what is the specular reflection and diffuse reflection? Reflection from a smooth surface at a definite angle. This is a smooth surface, and reflection through a smooth surface is a specular reflection, or you can another name for specular reflection is regular reflection. Regular reflection, and this is irregular reflection, diffuse reflection. First, let us see what is specular reflection. Your reflection from a smooth surface at a definite angle. This angle has been created. So this is example of specular reflection. Your reflection takes place in one particular direction, one direction. Whereas this second example is diffuse reflection, reflection of light from rough surface. This is a rough surface, it is diffuse reflection or irregular reflection. Your reflection of light takes place in all directions. Yes, as you can see, yes, in specular reflection, reflection takes place in one direction. This is one direction. When ray of light was traveling in this direction, after reflection, it travels in only one direction. Whereas in diffuse reflection, when a ray of light which is traveling in one direction, there is a strong possibility that it can travel in any direction. That is diffuse reflection. So let us understand this phenomena of specular and diffuse reflection through certain animations. This is a plane surface. First we will see what is specular reflection or regular reflection. This is plane surface and this is irregular surface. So irregular reflection always take place in a rough surface. This is a rough surface and this is a plane surface. So specular reflection, let's see. This is incident ray. As per the law of reflection, this is incident ray. After reflection, it will travel in this direction. If you draw a normal, then angle of incidence and angle of reflection would be equal. If I take another ray, then this ray would be this and angle of reflection would be this. So this is specular reflection. In this thing you will observe that this is following in one direction. After reflection, it will follow in one direction. Whereas in rough case, the phenomena is little different. When a ray of light is traveling in this direction, after reflection, it has traveled this in this direction. This. And if I take another ray of light which is traveling in this direction, now it is traveling in this direction. So at one point here the ray of light is traveling in this direction, and here it is traveling in this direction. So two different directions rays of light are traveling. Why is it so? Because of rough surface. Here in this case, since it was a plane surface, going in one direction, this straight direction. Here one is going in this direction and another is going in this direction. Why is it so? Because of irregular reflection. Always remember, whenever reflection takes place, no matter specular or diffuse reflection, angle of incidence and angle of reflection would always be equal. If I draw normal at this point of time, then this angle would be equal. Even in this case, if I draw normal in between these two lines, that is incident ray and reflected ray, again the angle would be equal. As per the diagram perspective, you might have perception that this is a reflection is good one, whereas this is wrong. Then you are thinking in wrong direction. This specular reflection is bad for our eyes, and this one is good. Why I am saying this? You might have observed you might have observed in blackboard at certain angles some portion is shining. That shining arises because of specular reflection. At the particular angle from which you are sitting and the angle created between the light, you will see a flash at certain point in blackboard and all. So that point is happening. That point you are able to see. That point you are perceiving because of specular reflection. That is harmful for our eyes. So specular reflection is always harmful for our eyes. Another application of specular reflection is that you might have observed in hot summer days that sometimes road gets shine on a smooth surface. That you're observing that shiny portion because of specular reflection. It is harmful for our eyes. Whereas diffuse reflection is the normal reflection from which you are able to see. Whatever concept you are observing in nature, it is diffuse reflection. Diffuse reflection means an irregular surface is there and ray of light is traveling in one direction. It is traveling in n number of direction. It is diffuse reflection. So in this activity, to study relationship between angle of incidence and angle of reflection, let's study this activity. This thing, earlier I was telling something about a mirror. So mirror diagram is always associated with this sort of things. A plane line is there. Behind the plane line, I'm drawing a small line, which indicate it is a mirror. In this activity, what we did, we have to take a cardboard, make a cylinder, a hollow cylinder sort of thing. I have to make two cardboard, one this one, a hollow one, and another this one. I should have a source of light, that is a torch, a plane mirror, and I am keeping my cardboard at this particular point between these two things. When I insert torch in this direction, the ray of light has traveled through this cardboard, hitting the plane mirror, and it is getting reflected from this cardboard, and you are able to see. At the point of incidence, you are realizing that the angle over here and angle over here are equal, always equal. No matter you are studying reflection, whenever you are studying reflection, angle of incidence, this angle and this angle would always be equal. In reflection, you have to remember this. Angle of incidence and angle of reflection are always equal. Through this activity, what is happening? Here a ray of light is traveling in this direction. A plane surface is there. After reflection, it has traveled inside from this cardboard, and you are able to see. If you analyze this, you will find, if you draw an imaginary normal between these two rays of light, you will find that this angle and this angle are always and always equal. Through this activity, you make a conclusion that angle of incidence and angle of reflection are always equal. I hope you have understood the concept. Thank you. Have a nice day.